PTE repeat sentence is the second task of the speaking section. It's pretty straightforward if you have a good strategy to execute. But it gets difficult for many test takers to get to a good score. So join me, your PTE specialist at Edutrainex, and I will explain you all the key elements that will help you to understand what is expected and how to attempt it. And don't be shy to reach out to us if you need any help with this task. Continue watching and keep learning. Overview. In the repeat sentence questions, you will hear a recording of a sentence and you need to repeat that as clearly and naturally as possible. As simple as that. The audio prompt will be between 3 to 9 seconds and there will be around 10 to 12 questions in the actual test. You will only get 3 to 5 seconds to prepare, after which the recording begins and you get 15 seconds to record your response. But mind it, the audio begins to play automatically, and once the audio finishes, the microphone opens and the status will change to recording. Don't worry, I am going to show you exactly how it looks in some time. So remember to speak into the microphone immediately when the status changes to recording, as there is no beep sound or tone sound in this task to alert you. And also, be careful of not pausing for 3 seconds or more. Otherwise, the microphone is cut off and you cannot record anything after that. Your ability to listen to a phrase on an academic subject and speaking back correctly is judged by this task. And as mentioned before, the question type assesses your listening and speaking skills for obvious reasons. Now, let me show you how this task looks in the actual test. Layout. So this is how you see the repeat sentence questions in the test. On the top, you see the task prompt, which tells you that you have to repeat the sentence exactly as you hear. Below that, you see the audio player, which begins to play after 3 seconds, and below that you see the audio recorder, which initially shows a countdown timer, and when the recording begins, the timer starts from 0 and it also shows you a progress bar. So once you are done recording, you click Next to move to the next question. For all speaking tasks, it is important that you understand the scoring well, as this will make it clear to you what needs to be done. Scoring. Okay, let's now look into how this question is scored in detail. There are 3 areas that you are scored in this task is content, pronunciation, and oral fluency. You have to speak for a purpose as if you are repeating or informing or explaining to someone, and you are speaking under time conditions. So let's start with the first one, which is content. You should speak exactly what was said in the audio. Don't add, skip, or replace any words. You get points depending on the length and how many errors you make. The errors may include replacements, word omissions, and insertions. For example, if there are 10 words in the text and you add, replace, or skip one word, so you lose 10% marks for each wrong word. For pronunciation and oral fluency, I have explained them in detail in my video for read aloud task. If you haven't watched the video yet, it's a must to understand the pronunciation and oral fluency scoring parameters. You can find the video link in the description, so I'll be explaining them only briefly here. For pronunciation, the key thing is to be easily understood by English speakers. You get points on the basis of how clearly you pronounce the words and if you correctly stressed on the syllables. And lastly, we have the oral fluency, which requires you to speak fluently and without any hesitations. In other words, you should speak at a natural rate with good rhythm. You get points for how fluent your speech is. And that speech accounts for sentence stressing as well. Pausing is another factor which is quite important to factor in when you prepare for this task. Well, that is all you needed to know about the repeat sentence task before moving forward. To know in detail about the pronunciation and oral fluency, please watch our read aloud video and the link is provided in the description. Now I'll give you some important tricks to master this task. Tips and tricks. Tip number 1. Relax and concentrate. Before the audio begins, you should put all your focus on listening, as you will only hear the audio once. So take a deep breath and also close your eyes if that helps you. Tip number 2. Memorize the phrases. Once you concentrate and listen, don't try to remember the whole sentence, but try to break it into phrases or chunks and then memorize them. Scientifically speaking, it is easier for the brain to remember small chunks rather than a long sentence. Tip number 3. Copy the stress and intonation patterns of the sentence you hear. So basically what you need to do is imitate the way you heard it. Mind it that don't imitate the accent that you hear, just the style and the wordings. Tip number 4. Speak at a moderate rate and without hesitations. So don't speak too fast, relax and speak, and try not to stutter anywhere. No ums and ahs. And tip number 5 is to pronounce clearly. Use lip movements to help you pronounce each and every word correctly, including word and sentence stressing. Last but not the least, let's now look at what you should never do while attempting these questions. Mistake number 1. Pausing for 3 or more seconds. Trying to remember the sentence you heard and not speaking will result in the microphone to be cut off and no further response will be recorded. So keep that in mind. Mistake number 2. Trying to remember the whole sentence together. Your chances are better if you break the sentence into phrases as the speaker speaks and then try to remember them. Mistake number 3. Don't copy the speaker's accent. Never do that. Copying accent makes it even harder for the PTE algorithm to understand you, as you won't sound natural. So this is just a myth. If you heard that, you need to copy the accent. So your next step will be to practice this task. And this is how you practice the task on the Edutrainex PTE learning platform. The layout here is designed to help you practice. You can see the audio player on the top and there is the recorder. On the right hand side, you can see some important tips related to the task, and you can also glance at the strategy if you need to while practicing. So let me show you how you attempt it. You listen to the audio first.
The scientists investigated different methods of teaching evolution in primary schools.
Once you have heard that, you press the record button to record your response. The scientists investigated different methods of teaching evolution in primary schools. Once you are done, you can click Review Answer and you get an evaluation immediately by the Edutrainex algorithm. So you can see how easily it shows you how many matches it made with your response. That's how you attempt it. Wonderful. Another speaking task completed. Go ahead and watch our other videos on the best strategies to solve the PTE tasks. And don't waste any more time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today for a bright future. And don't forget, you can always reach out to me for any questions that you have on this topic.